The council chamber aboard Unity Station was a massive circular room with seats arranged in rising tiers. Representatives from all 17 Union species sat in their designated sections. The air was thick with tension, and the smell of various alien biochemistries mixing together. Chancellor Vexara stood at the center podium. She was a Silvari, a species that looked almost like humans except for their silver-blue skin that glowed with soft bioluminescence. Her light was flickering and dim, a sign of deep distress. "The situation is critical," Vexara said, her voice amplified throughout the chamber. "The Vraken have breached the cordon line. Our projections show they will reach the core worlds within 47 hours. We have lost over 60% of our military fleet. Civilian casualties are estimated at 12 billion and climbing." A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Lisa sat in the observer section, a small area reserved for military officers without voting privileges. She watched the council members and saw fear on every face regardless of what species they were. "The council must now vote on the Exodus Protocol," Vexara continued. "We propose an immediate evacuation of all core worlds. The fleet will escort civilian transports to the far colonies in the Andromeda sector. All military forces will provide rearguard action to delay the Vraken advance." Lisa stood up. Her heart was pounding, but she kept her voice steady. "Chancellor, I request permission to speak." Every head in the chamber turned to look at her. A ripple of surprised whispers went through the assembled aliens. It was highly unusual for an observer to interrupt a council session, especially during a crisis vote. Vexara's skin flickered orange with surprise, then darkened to a troubled purple. "Captain Harper, this is not the proper time. We are conducting an emergency vote." "I understand, Chancellor. Before the council votes, I have information that may provide an alternative to the Exodus Protocol." More whispers. Louder now. Representative Korth, a massive rock-like being from the Granite World, spoke up. "What alternative could possibly exist? We have exhausted every military option." Lisa took a deep breath. This was it. "We have not exhausted every option because we have refused to consider one particular solution. A solution that the Union has deliberately kept locked away for 73 years. She activated her datapad and transmitted files to every council member simultaneously. I am uploading classified observation reports from the quarantined world designated as Terra, also known as Earth, my home world." The chamber erupted. Council members shouted over each other. Some stood from their seats. Vexara's skin flashed bright red in alarm. "Captain Harper, this is forbidden," Vexara said sharply. "The human quarantine is not a matter for public discussion." "With respect, Chancellor, it needs to be discussed now," Lisa said firmly. "The Vraken are 47 hours away from destroying everything the Union has built. We are out of time and out of options. I am proposing that we break the quarantine and request military assistance from Earth." "Absolutely not," said Representative Ixtar, a floating jellyfish-like creature in a liquid-filled sphere. "Humanity is classified as a Category 5 threat species. They are dangerously aggressive and technologically unpredictable." "Exactly," Lisa said. "They are dangerous. That is precisely why we need them." She pulled up data on the main view screen. Combat footage, weapons tests, tactical analyses, all of it gathered by Union observation satellites over decades of watching Earth. "The Union has been monitoring my people for 3 generations," Lisa continued. "You have documented everything. You have seen humans wage war with a level of sophistication that no Union species practices. You have watched them develop weapons that could crack planets. You have recorded thousands of conflicts where humans demonstrated strategic thinking, adaptability, and a willingness to make hard choices." "You make it sound admirable," said Representative Quill, a feathered avian with bright plumage, "but what you are describing is barbarism. The Union abandoned such violent methods millennia ago, and that is why you are losing," Lisa said bluntly. "The Vraken do not follow Union rules. They do not negotiate or compromise. They consume and destroy. You cannot defeat them with energy weapons and defensive formations. You need someone who understands warfare at its most fundamental level." Torvak stood up from his seat in the military section. "I support Captain Harper's proposal. I have served with her for 5 years. I have seen her tactical thinking save my crew many times. If other humans possess even a fraction of her combat instincts, they could be valuable allies." "Allies?" Representative Ixtar's voice bubbled with anger. "You would unleash one plague to fight another?" Have you read the observation reports? Humans fight wars against their own species over resources, beliefs, territory. They have nearly destroyed themselves multiple times with nuclear weapons. They create diseases as weapons. They are savage. Lisa felt her temper rising but forced herself to stay calm. Yes, we are violent. Yes, we wage war. But you do not understand the context. Humans fight to protect what we care about. Every war in human history was fought because people believed they were defending something important. Family, freedom, survival. We do not fight for enjoyment. We fight because sometimes fighting is necessary. She changed the display to show recent Union battle reports. Look at your own tactics against the Vraken. You try to minimize casualties. You avoid aggressive maneuvers. You retreat when the odds turn against you. These are good principles for keeping peace, but they are terrible strategies for winning wars. What would you have us do? Vexara asked quietly. Become as brutal as the enemy we fight? Yes, Lisa said simply. If necessary, yes. Because right now, being civilized is getting billions of people killed. The Vraken are not going to stop because you are morally superior. They are going to consume every world in the Union and then move on to the next galaxy. She pulled up the final piece of data. I have run simulations. If humanity commits military forces, we estimate a 63% chance of stopping the Vraken advance within 1 year. Without human assistance, the Exodus Protocol gives you maybe a 20% chance of survival. The chamber fell silent. Numbers did not lie. The representatives looked at the data with troubled expressions. Representative Yin, an insectoid being with compound eyes, spoke carefully. Even if we agreed to this proposal, why would humanity help us? We have quarantined them for 3 generations. We have kept them isolated and treated them as a threat. What motivation would they have to risk their lives for the Union? Lisa smiled slightly. Because that is what humans do. When someone is in trouble, we help. It is one of our defining characteristics. The same instinct that makes us fight wars also makes us rescue strangers. We cannot ignore people who need us. And if they refuse, asked Representative Korth, then we tried everything possible before accepting defeat. Vexara studied Lisa for a long moment. Her skin shifted through several colors as she processed her thoughts. Finally, she spoke to the entire council. This is an unprecedented situation. Captain Harper is proposing that we contact a quarantined species and request military intervention. This goes against 73 years of Union policy. It potentially puts us in debt to a species we know very little about. She paused, then continued. However, the alternative is the extinction of our civilization. I am opening the floor for debate. For the next 6 hours, the council argued. Some species supported the idea out of desperation. Others opposed it on moral grounds. Religious leaders spoke about the sanctity of life and the danger of embracing violence. Military commanders pointed to the tactical necessity. Scientists debated whether humans could actually make a difference. Lisa sat through all of it, answering questions when called upon. She showed more data, explained human military history, and made her case over and over again. Finally, Vexara called for a vote. The chamber fell silent as each representative registered their decision. Lisa watched the tally board, her hands gripping the armrests of her seat. Green lights for yes. Red lights for no. The lights appeared one by one. Green, red, green, green, red, red, green. It was close. Too close. Lisa counted in her head, trying to predict the outcome. Then the final vote registered. Green. The proposal passes by a margin of 1 vote. Vexara announced. Captain Harper, you are authorized to travel to Earth, make contact with human leadership, and request military assistance. You will have full diplomatic credentials and the authority to negotiate on behalf of the Union. Lisa stood and bowed formally. Thank you, Chancellor. I will leave immediately. Captain Harper, Vexara said, her skin darkening to a serious gray. I want you to understand something. If humanity refuses to help, you will return to the fleet and we will proceed with the Exodus Protocol. But if humanity agrees and if they prove to be as dangerous as we fear, the Council has authorized contingency measures. What kind of measures? Lisa asked, though she already suspected the answer. We have Omega weapons in reserve, planet killers. If humanity betrays us, or if they become a threat equal to the Vraken, we will not hesitate to use them, on both the Vraken and on Earth. The words hit Lisa like a physical blow. The Union was so afraid of her people that they were prepared to destroy Earth rather than risk humanity becoming a galactic power. The alarms screamed through the bridge of the celestial dawn. Red lights flashed across every surface as the massive ship shook from another impact. Captain Lisa Harper gripped the sides of her command chair and watched the view screen with growing horror. Outside, in the black void of space, dozens of ships were dying. They looked like ships made of living tissue, dark purple and gray, with surfaces that pulsed and moved like breathing lungs. These were the Fraken, and they were winning. Again. Lisa had been fighting them for 8 months now. 8 months of watching worlds burn. 8 months of retreat after retreat. 8 months of watching the Galactic Union, the great alliance of 17 alien species that had kept peace for 3,000 years, slowly fall apart. "Commander Torvak, what's our status?" Lisa called out. The tall alien turned his forearms toward her. Torvak was a Krellian, with blue-gray skin and large black eyes. He had been her second in command for 5 years. They had been through many battles together, but never anything like this. "We have lost 32 ships in the last hour," Torvak said, his voice deep and sad. "The fleet is breaking formation. The Vraken are overwhelming our defensive line." Lisa watched as another Union ship exploded on the screen. The Vraken were not like any enemy the Union had ever faced. They came from somewhere beyond the galaxy, from the empty dark between the stars. They were a hive mind, billions of creatures all thinking as one, and they were hungry. The Vraken ate everything. They consumed planets, stripped them of all life, and used that organic matter to build more ships, more soldiers, more weapons. Every battle made them stronger because they fed on the dead. The Union's energy weapons barely slowed them down. Their organic hulls adapted and healed. "Captain, we are receiving an emergency signal from the flagship," said Lieutenant Kara, a bird-like alien with bright yellow feathers. "Admiral Zhen is ordering all remaining ships to retreat to the jump point." Another retreat. Lisa felt tired in her bones. They had retreated from 12 worlds already. 12 worlds full of people who had trusted the Union to protect them. All gone now, consumed by the endless hunger of the Vraken. "Acknowledged," Lisa said quietly. "Set course for the jump point. Maximum speed." The celestial dawn turned away from the battle, its massive engines pushing it toward safety. Around them, the scattered remains of the Union fleet did the same. They were running again. Lisa was 37 years old. She had left Earth 15 years ago when she was selected as a liaison officer to the Galactic Union. Back then, it had seemed like a dream come true. Humanity had been discovered by the Union 73 years before she was born. But the aliens had not made contact. Instead, they had placed Earth under quarantine and watched from a distance. The official reason was that humanity was not ready for galactic society. But Lisa had learned the real reason during her years with the Union. The aliens were afraid of humans. They thought humans were too violent, too aggressive, too dangerous. They called Earth the quarantined world and spoke of humanity as something to be contained. Lisa had worked hard to prove them wrong. She had studied their languages, learned their customs, and climbed through the ranks of the Union Defense Force. She had become the first and only human to command a Union warship. She had shown them that humans could be trusted. But now, watching another fleet limp away in defeat, she wondered if the Union had been wrong about what to fear. The ship jumped to faster than light speed and the battle disappeared behind them. The bridge fell quiet except for the hum of the engines. Lisa stood up from her chair and walked to the observation window. In the distance, she could see the other surviving ships, maybe 200 vessels out of the 1,000 that had started the battle. Torvak came to stand beside her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. "They are calling an emergency council session," Torvak finally said. "I have heard rumors about what they will discuss." "The Exodus Protocol," Lisa said. It was not a question. Torvak nodded slowly. "Yes, they want to abandon this entire arm of the galaxy, retreat to the far colonies and leave everything else behind." Lisa closed her eyes. The Exodus Protocol meant giving up. It meant running so far and so fast that maybe, just maybe, the Vraken would not follow. It meant leaving billions of people on thousands of worlds to die. "There has to be another way," she said. "What other way is there?" Torvak asked. "We have tried everything. Our weapons do not work. Our tactics do not work. The Vraken are too strong, too fast, too many. They grow stronger with every battle while we grow weaker." Lisa turned to look at him. "What if we found allies? Someone with weapons and tactics the Vraken have never seen before?" Torvak's eyes widened slightly. "You are speaking of something forbidden." "I know. The Council would never agree. They might if they are desperate enough. Lisa had been thinking about this for weeks now. She had used her security clearance to access classified files, documents that were locked away and never discussed, files about Earth, about humanity, about the real reason the Union kept humans quarantined. The Union had been watching Earth for 73 years. They had recorded everything, every war, every weapon, every conflict. They had watched humans develop nuclear bombs, biological weapons, chemical warfare. They had watched humans fight each other with a skill and brutality that terrified the peaceful species of the Union. The aliens had hundreds of documents analyzing human warfare. They called it unprecedented aggression and disturbing efficiency and violence. They noted that humans had been fighting wars for their entire recorded history. 10,000 years of conflict. 10,000 years of learning how to kill. The Union had labeled humanity as the most dangerous species they had ever encountered. They had debated whether to destroy Earth entirely or simply contain it. In the end, they chose containment. They put Earth in a box and tried to forget about it, but Lisa had not forgotten. She was human. She knew what her people were capable of, and she was starting to think that what the Union feared most might be exactly what they needed. "I am going to speak to the Council," Lisa said. "I am going to propose that we break the quarantine, that we go to Earth and ask for help." Torvak was silent for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was troubled. "Lisa, you know what the Council thinks of your species. They believe humans are too violent, too unpredictable. Many species have religious beliefs against the kind of warfare humans practice. If you propose this, you may be branded as a traitor. I know. And even if they agree, what makes you think humanity would help us? We have kept them isolated for 3 generations. We have treated them as prisoners in their own system. Why would they risk themselves for strangers who feared them?" Lisa turned back to the window and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, beyond the light years of space, Earth was still spinning. Humanity was still there, still growing, still advancing. The Union's observation satellites had noted that Earth had unified under a single planetary government 30 years ago. They had detected massive shipbuilding operations in orbit. They had seen weapons tests that made Union scientists nervous. Humanity had known they were being watched. And they had been preparing. "Because that is what humans do," Lisa said quietly. "When someone asks for help, we answer. It is in our nature. The Union sees us as violent, but they do not understand. We fight to protect. We are dangerous to our enemies, but loyal to our friends." She turned to face Torvak again. "I do not know if the Council will listen to me. I do not know if Earth will agree to help. But I have to try. Because right now the Union is dying, and I would rather take a risk on my own people than watch billions more die without trying everything possible." Torvak studied her face for a long moment. Then he placed one of his 4 hands on her shoulder. "Then I will stand with you when you speak to the Council. You are my captain and my friend. If you believe this is the right path, I will support you." Lisa felt a surge of gratitude. "Thank you." "But Lisa," Torvak said seriously, "you must understand what you are proposing. If we open this door, if we bring humanity into the galaxy, there will be no closing it again. The Union will change forever. For better or for worse." Lisa nodded slowly. She understood. She was proposing to unleash something that the galaxy had tried very hard to contain. She was proposing to call upon the wolves. But the wolves were the only ones who knew how to fight monsters. The courier ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. Lisa had traveled for 11 days straight, sleeping in short intervals and spending most of her time reviewing everything she knew about current Earth. The Union observation satellites had continued their surveillance, even after she left. The reports showed massive changes. The old nations had unified under a single planetary government called United Earth. Wars had stopped. Resources were being pooled. And everywhere humanity was building. They had constructed orbital elevators at 4 points around the globe. Space stations circled the planet like a string of pearls. The moon had mining operations and manufacturing facilities. Mars was being terraformed. But most striking were the shipyards. Massive construction platforms that were building vessels Lisa could barely comprehend. The moment her ship entered the system, alarms started screaming. Her sensors lit up with targeting locks from every direction. Lisa's hands flew over the controls, but she did not power up weapons. Instead, she broadcast on all frequencies. "This is Captain Lisa Harper, identification code Harper, 77 Alpha, formerly of the United Earth Space Command. I am here on behalf of the Galactic Union with a priority diplomatic message. Please respond." For 10 long seconds, nothing happened. Then weapons platforms that Lisa had not even detected began appearing on her sensors. They had been there all along, invisible until they wanted to be seen. Hundreds of them, forming a lethal sphere around the entire solar system. A voice came through her communications. Male comm professional. "Captain Harper, this is Earth Defense Command. Your identification has been verified. Power down your engines and prepare for escort." 6 ships materialized around her courier vessel. They looked nothing like the elegant, curved ships of the Union. These were angular, brutal machines covered in armor plating and weapons. They moved with perfect coordination, taking up defensive positions around her ship. "Following your lead," Lisa transmitted. The escort guided her toward Earth. As they approached, Lisa got her first good look at her homeworld in 15 years. It was beautiful. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown continents. But surrounding it was something new. A defensive network that would have impressed even the most paranoid Union strategist. Satellites with railguns, missile platforms, energy weapons she did not recognize. Quantum mines that could destroy a ship and prevent it from being rebuilt at the molecular level. Shield generators that could protect entire continents. And ships. "So many ships, my God," Lisa whispered. "What have you been building?" "Earth Defense Command to Captain Harper," the voice said. "You are cleared for docking at Geneva Station. Admiral Peter Cross will meet you personally. He has been briefed on your situation." "Wait, you have been monitoring the Union?" Lisa asked. There was a hint of amusement in the response. "Captain, we have been monitoring everyone. Did you really think we would not notice alien satellites watching us for 70 years? Geneva Station was enormous, a massive ring structure in high orbit. The escort ships guided Lisa's courier into a docking bay that could have held 20 vessels her size. As her ship settled onto the landing pad, Lisa saw armed soldiers taking positions around the bay. They carried weapons that looked far more advanced than anything she remembered from 15 years ago. She took a deep breath and opened the hatch. A woman in a formal military uniform was waiting. She was in her 50s with short gray hair and sharp eyes that seemed to evaluate everything instantly. Behind her stood Admiral Peter Cross, wearing the insignia of Earth Defense Command. He was older, maybe 60, with the weathered look of someone who had seen combat. "Captain Harper," the woman said, extending her hand. "I am Secretary General Amanda Cole. Welcome home." Lisa shook her hand. "Secretary General, thank you for seeing me." "Walk with us," Amanda said. "We have much to discuss." They led her through corridors filled with activity. Soldiers, technicians, scientists, all moving with purpose. Lisa noticed their equipment. Advanced computers, holographic displays, weapons that looked like they belonged in science fiction. "You have been busy," Lisa said. Admiral Cross smiled slightly. "We have had 70 years to prepare. When we discovered alien satellites watching us, we knew first contact would come eventually. We decided to be ready for whatever that meant." They entered a conference room with a view of Earth through massive windows. A holographic display showed star maps with the positions of Union worlds and the Fraken advance clearly marked. "We have been monitoring your war," Amanda said. "We know about the Fraken, the Union's losses, and the Exodus Protocol debate. We also know about your speech to the Council." "How?" Lisa asked, surprised. "We have had agents in Union space for 20 years, Admiral Cross said. "Not spies exactly. More like observers. We needed to understand the galaxy we would eventually join. We have been watching and waiting." Amanda gestured to the star map. "Show us what you need." Lisa spent the next hour explaining everything. The nature of the Vraken, their tactics, their biology, the Union's failed strategies, the desperate situation. When she finished, she looked directly at Amanda. "The Union needs soldiers. They need people who understand warfare. They have spent 3,000 years building a peaceful civilization. And now they are dying because they forgot how to fight. I know this is a lot to ask. The Union quarantined Earth and treated humanity like a threat. But billions of people are dying, and I do not know who else to turn to." Amanda and Admiral Cross were silent for a moment. Then Amanda smiled, and it was not a nice smile. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for this moment. "Let me make sure I understand," Amanda said. "For 73 years, the Galactic Union watched us like we were dangerous animals. They documented every war, every weapon, every conflict. They labeled us as too violent, too aggressive, too dangerous to join their peaceful society. They quarantined us and denied us contact with the rest of the galaxy. Yes, Lisa said. And now, when they are losing their war, they want us to save them. Yes. Amanda leaned back in her chair. How many ships do you need? Lisa blinked. What?
How many ships?
Amanda repeated. Give me a number. How many combat vessels would it take to turn the tide of this war? I do not know exactly. Maybe 100? 200? But Secretary General, you need to understand what you would be committing to. The Vraken are dangerous. This war could last years. Your people could die. Admiral Cross pulled up different data on the holographic display. Shipyard statistics. Military readiness reports. Troop numbers, Captain Harper, he said. What you need to understand is that humanity has been preparing for this since we discovered we were not alone. We have been building, training, and planning for the day when we would join the galactic community. We always knew it would not be peaceful. He zoomed in on the shipyard data. We currently have 473 combat ships ready for deployment. Another 600 in various stages of construction. We have 3 million active military personnel, and another 15 million in reserve. We have weapon systems that the Union has probably never imagined. Lisa stared at the numbers. That is incredible. We are human, Amanda said simply. When we discovered we were being watched by aliens, we did what humans do. We prepared for the worst and hoped for the best. Some people thought the aliens would be friendly. Others thought they would be hostile. We planned for both possibilities. She stood and walked to the window, looking down at Earth. What the Union does not understand is that human violence is not random or cruel. We are aggressive, yes. We fight wars, yes. But we fight to protect. Every weapon we build, every soldier we train, every defense we prepare is about keeping our families safe. Amanda turned back to Lisa. The Union sees us as dangerous. They are right. We are the most dangerous species in this part of the galaxy. But they misunderstand what that means. We are only dangerous to those who threaten us or those we care about. So you will help? Lisa asked. Of course we will help, Amanda said. Not because we owe the Union anything. Not because we want something in return. But because billions of people are dying, and we have the ability to stop it. That is reason enough. Admiral Cross activated another display. We will commit 200 ships immediately. Full combat load with Marine complements. I will personally lead the expedition. We can be ready to depart in 72 hours. Lisa felt relief wash over her. Thank you. The Union will be grateful. I doubt that, Admiral Cross said with a slight smile. The Union asked for wolves to fight their war. They are about to discover what it means when the wolves actually show up. Over the next 3 days, Lisa watched as Earth prepared for war. It was like watching a machine come to life. Ships were loaded with weapons, supplies, and troops. Marines trained in zero-gravity combat. Engineers made final adjustments to systems. Medical teams prepared for casualties. Lisa met some of the soldiers. They were young, professional, and frighteningly competent. They had trained their entire lives for combat. They knew tactics that the Union had never considered. They carried weapons that made Union armaments look primitive. One of them was Commander Jake Morrison, who would be leading the Marine forces. He was 45, broad-shouldered, with gray in his hair and scars on his hands. 6 months after the Battle of Corvan, the war against the Vraken had transformed completely. The enemy that had seemed unstoppable was now in retreat. Human-led forces had reclaimed 12 systems and destroyed hundreds of Vraken vessels. The Union fleet, learning from human tactics, had become more aggressive and more effective. But the Vraken had one final move. Intelligence reports showed they were gathering their remaining forces for a massive assault on Union Prime, the capital world of the Galactic Union. Every Vraken ship in the galaxy was converging on a single target. It would be the largest swarm ever assembled, over 2,000 vessels. If Union Prime fell, the war was over. The Union government would collapse. The member species would scatter. Everything would be lost. Admiral Cross called an emergency meeting in the Freedom's War Room. Lisa, Commander Morrison, Admiral Zhen, and Chancellor Vexara attended via hologram. The mood was tense. They are betting everything on this attack, Admiral Cross said, pointing to the tactical display. 2,000 Vraken ships will hit Union Prime in 48 hours. Our combined fleet has maybe 400 vessels in position to defend. We are outnumbered 5-1, Admiral Zhen said grimly. Even with human tactics, those odds are difficult. Then we do not fight them fairly, Jake Morrison said. He pulled up a new tactical plan. We know the Vrak can coordinate through bioelectric signals. What if we did not just jam those signals but overloaded them? Make them think they are receiving commands when they are actually receiving noise?
How would we do that?
Vexera asked. Jake smiled. We have been developing a weapon specifically for this situation. We call it the Scrambler. It is a device that broadcasts on the same frequencies the Vraken use but at massively amplified power. It would be like screaming directly into their collective brain. Would it work? Admiral Jen asked. We think so. But we need to get it close to their main swarm. Very close. Someone would need to fly a ship into the center of 2,000 Vraken vessels and activate the device. The room fell silent. Everyone understood what that meant. It would be a suicide mission. I will do it, Lisa said quietly. No, Admiral Cross said immediately. Captain, you are too valuable. We need you for the coordination between human and Union forces. With respect, Admiral, I am the best choice. I know Union technology and human tactics. I can pilot the ship and activate the device. And if something goes wrong, I can adapt. Torvak's hologram flickered. Lisa, this is suicide. You will not survive. Maybe, Lisa said. But if Union Prime falls, billions die. That is not acceptable. Admiral Cross studied her face for a long moment. If you are determined to do this, you will not go alone. I will assign Commander Morrison and a team of Marines to accompany you. Admiral, with respect, you need Jake here commanding the assault, Lisa said. And he needs a proper team to survive, Admiral Cross countered. This is not negotiable, Captain. You get support or you do not go. Lisa knew when she was beaten. Yes, sir. The plan was set. Lisa would take a fast courier ship, the same type she had used to travel to Earth. Jake Morrison and 6 Marines would accompany her. They would approach Union Prime from a different vector than the main fleet, slip through the Vraken swarm using stealth technology, reach the center and activate the Scrambler device. If it worked, the Vraken would lose coordination. The human and Union fleet would then attack while the enemy was confused. If it did not work, Lisa and her team would die, and the fleet would have to fight overwhelming odds. 48 hours later, the Vraken swarm arrived at Union Prime. 2,000 organic ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel in a massive wave. They formed a sphere around the planet, preparing to attack. The Union and human fleet was waiting. 400 ships in defensive formation. It looked hopeless. Lisa's courier ship was hiding in the planet's shadow, powered down to minimal levels. Jake Morrison checked his Marine team's equipment for the 10th time. They were ready. Here we go, Lisa whispered, firing up the engines. The courier ship was fast and small. It used advanced stealth technology that the humans had developed for covert operations. As the Vraken swarm began moving toward the planet, Lisa slipped the ship into their formation. The organic vessels were packed tightly together. Lisa had to navigate through gaps barely wider than her ship. One collision would alert the entire swarm. Her hands were steady on the controls, years of training taking over. How do you stay so calm? One of the young Marines asked nervously. I am terrified, Lisa admitted. But being scared does not mean you stop doing what needs to be done. Jake Morrison smiled. That is the most human thing I have ever heard you say, Captain. They pushed deeper into the swarm. Around them, Vraken ships moved with coordinated precision. Lisa could see their organic hulls pulsing with bioelectric signals. The hive mind at work. Approaching the center now, Lisa said. Jake, get ready with the Scrambler. The device was in the cargo hold, a piece of human engineering that looked like a massive satellite dish combined with a power core. Jake and his team moved it to the airlock. They would eject it into space and it would activate automatically. Suddenly, alarms blared. One of the Vraken ships had detected them. We are made, Lisa said, her voice sharp. Deploying Scrambler now. The airlock opened and the device launched into space. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the Scrambler activated. The effect was immediate and spectacular. Every Vraken ship in range began broadcasting random signals. The carefully coordinated swarm turned into chaos. Ships collided with each other. Some fired on their own kind. The hive mind shattered into thousands of confused individual vessels. It worked, Jake shouted. Get us out of here! But Lisa's ship was taking fire from confused Vraken vessels. One impact shook the whole ship. Another hit took out the primary engine. We are hit, Lisa said, fighting the controls. I cannot maneuver. Through the view screen, she saw the human and Union fleet beginning their attack. Seeing the Vraken in disarray, they charged forward with everything they had. Nuclear weapons, railguns, electromagnetic pulses. The coordinated assault was devastating, but Lisa's ship was drifting deeper into the swarm, surrounded by angry Vraken vessels that could not coordinate but could still fire randomly. "Captain, we need to abandon ship," Jake said. "We will use emergency pods and hope the fleet picks us up." "No time," Lisa said. "Those Vraken ships are too close. The pods will not make it." Another impact. The ship shuddered. Alarms were screaming from every system. Jake moved to the pilot seat beside Lisa. "Then we go down fighting. Marines, grab whatever weapons you have. We are going to make them work for this kill." But before the Vraken could deliver the final blow, a massive human warship punched through the swarm. It was the Freedom, Admiral Cross's flagship. The big ship positioned itself between Lisa's courier and the Vraken, taking hits meant for the smaller vessel. "Freedom to courier ship," Admiral Cross's voice came through. "Hold tight, Captain. We are getting you out." The Freedom extended a tractor beam and pulled Lisa's damaged ship to safety. Around them, the battle raged. With the Vraken unable to coordinate, the human and Union fleet was winning decisively. Ships were destroyed by the dozens. The swarm was falling apart. Lisa and her team were brought aboard the Freedom. Medical teams checked them for injuries while Jake gave Admiral Cross a quick report. "The scrambler worked better than we hoped," Jake said. "The Vraken cannot reorganize. They are fighting as individuals now." "Good," Admiral Cross said. "All ships press the attack. I want every Vraken vessel destroyed. No survivors. The battle lasted 8 hours. When it ended, the Vraken superswarm was completely annihilated. 2,000 vessels destroyed. Union Prime was saved." In the aftermath, as rescue and recovery operations began, Chancellor Vexara visited the Freedom in person. Her skin glowed with a mixture of gratitude and exhaustion. "Admiral Cross, Captain Harper, Commander Morrison," she said formally. "The Union owes you a debt that can never be repaid. You saved our capital world. You saved our civilization." "We did what needed to be done," Admiral Cross said simply. Vexara turned to Lisa. "Captain Harper, when you first proposed bringing humanity into this war, many of us were terrified. We thought we were unleashing something we could not control, and in a way we did. Your people fight with a brutality that disturbs us. You use weapons we banned centuries ago. You show no mercy to enemies." She paused, then continued. "But we were wrong to be so afraid. Yes, humans are violent. Yes, you are dangerous. But you are also loyal, brave, and honorable. You fight to protect, not to conquer. The Union judged you without understanding you." Amanda Cole appeared via hologram. She had been watching the battle from Earth. "Chancellor, humanity accepts your thanks. But we want something clearly understood. We did not help you because we wanted to join your union or gain access to your technology. We helped because it was the right thing to do." "Nevertheless," Vexara said, "the Union would be honored if humanity would accept full membership, with all rights, privileges, and responsibilities." Amanda smiled. "We accept. But know this. Humanity is going to change the Union. We will bring our own ideas about defense, strategy, and preparedness. Not to take over, but to make sure this never happens again. I think," Vexara said carefully, "that the Union needs to change." The human fleet arrived at the Tarkin Nebula staging area 6 days after leaving Earth. The nebula was a massive cloud of gas and dust that provided cover for the Union's remaining military forces. It was also strategically positioned 3 systems away from the current Vraken front line. When the 200 human warships dropped out of faster-than-light travel, every sensor in the Union fleet immediately locked onto them. Alarms sounded across dozens of ships. Weapons were charged. For a brief tense moment, it looked like the Union might fire on their potential allies. Lisa quickly transmitted her authorization codes. "Union fleet, this is Captain Harper aboard the Earth vessel Freedom. We are here under Council authorization. Stand down weapons." The response came from Admiral Zhen aboard the Union flagship. The old Admiral's voice sounded tired but relieved. "Captain Harper, welcome back. We have been waiting for you. Admiral, I have brought friends." The human fleet moved into formation alongside the Union vessels. The contrast was stark. Union ships were elegant, curved, designed with aesthetics in mind. Human ships were brutal, angular, covered in armor and weapons. They looked like what they were: machines built for one purpose, to kill efficiently. A meeting was called aboard the Union flagship. Lisa accompanied Admiral Cross and Commander Jake Morrison. When they entered the conference room, Every Union species representative was there. The room fell silent as the humans walked in. Admiral Cross stood at attention and saluted formally. "I am Admiral Peter Cross of the United Earth Defense Force. My government has authorized me to provide military assistance in your conflict with the Fraken. We have brought 200 combat vessels and full marine complements. We are ready to fight." Chancellor Vexara's skin flickered with multiple colors, showing her mixed emotions: relief, fear, hope, worry. "Admiral Cross, the Union is grateful for your assistance. However, we must establish clear rules of engagement. The Union has laws regarding acceptable combat methods." "With respect, Chancellor," Jake Morrison said, speaking up for the first time, "the Vraken are not following any rules. If you want to win this war, you need to be willing to fight dirty." A murmur went through the Union representatives. Representative Ixtar's liquid sphere bubbled angrily. "We will not abandon our principles. There are limits to what civilized beings should do in warfare." Jake pulled up a holographic display showing recent Vraken attacks. Planets stripped bare of life. Ships torn apart. Civilians consumed. The Vraken do not care about your principles. They care about feeding. Every minute you spend debating ethics is another minute they spend killing your people. Admiral Zhen, the old military commander, spoke carefully. "Commander Morrison is right. We have been losing because we are fighting a total war with limited warfare tactics. What do you propose?" Admiral Cross activated another display. It showed tactical plans, attack vectors, weapon deployments. "We have studied your previous battles and the Fraken's behavior patterns. They are aggressive but predictable. They rely on overwhelming numbers and rapid regeneration. They coordinate through bioelectric signals. These are all weaknesses we can exploit." He pointed to a system on the map. "The Corvin system. Intelligence shows a medium-sized Vraken swarm there, maybe 300 vessels. We propose a test engagement. We will hit them hard with everything we have: nuclear saturation, electromagnetic warfare, close quarters combat. We will show you what human tactics look like. Nuclear weapons." Representative Quill's feathers ruffled in distress. "Those are banned under Union law. They cause indiscriminate destruction." "They also work," Jake said bluntly. "The Vraken feed on organic matter. Nuclear fire denies them resources. It forces them to retreat or die. It is brutal, yes, but effective." Chancellor Vexara looked at Lisa. "Captain Harper, you know these humans. Do you trust them?" Lisa thought carefully before answering. "Chancellor, I trust them to do what needs to be done. They are not going to fight your war the way you would fight it. They are going to use methods you find disturbing, but they are also going to win battles you have been losing." There was a long silence. Finally, Admiral Zhen spoke. "I support this plan. We need a victory. The fleet morale is collapsing. If the humans can deliver a decisive win at Corvin, it would prove their value." The debate continued for another hour, but eventually the Union agreed. The human fleet would engage the Vraken at Corvin, while Union ships observed from a safe distance. It would be a test. If the humans succeeded, full cooperation would follow. If they failed, the Exodus Protocol would proceed. The combined fleet traveled to Corvin. As they approached, Lisa stood on the bridge of the Freedom beside Admiral Cross. The view screen showed the Vraken swarm ahead. 300 organic ships pulsing and writhing in space. "They are ugly," Admiral Cross commented. "I have seen biological warfare before, but this is something else." "They are effective," Lisa said. "They have destroyed everything we have thrown at them. Then it is time they met something they cannot adapt to." Admiral Cross opened a channel to the entire human fleet. "All ships, this is Cross. You have trained your entire lives for combat. Today you get to put that training to use. The enemy ahead has killed billions. They feed on the innocent. They cannot be reasoned with or negotiated with. Our mission is simple: destroy them completely." He paused, then continued. "The Union is watching us. They think we are savages. They think our methods are too brutal. Let us show them what human savagery can accomplish. All ships, weapons free. Engage at will." The human fleet surged forward. They did not form defensive lines or try to minimize casualties. They charged directly at the Vraken swarm like wolves attacking prey. The Vraken responded exactly as predicted. They swarmed toward the humans, trying to overwhelm them with numbers. It had worked against every Union fleet. It did not work against humanity. The human ships opened fire at maximum range. Railguns launched projectiles at a fraction of light speed. The kinetic impacts punched through organic hulls like paper. Vraken ships exploded or shredded apart. The Vraken adapted, thickening their hulls, so the humans switched tactics. Missiles streaked through space, hundreds of them. But these were not normal missiles. They were nuclear warheads. The first wave detonated in the heart of the swarm. White-hot nuclear fire consumed dozens of Vraken ships instantly. The organic matter they needed to regenerate was vaporized. The radiation lingered, poisoning anything that tried to feed on the remains. The Union observers watching from a distance were shocked into silence. They had never seen weapons used with such casual brutality. But the humans were not done. As the Vraken swarm tried to regroup, electromagnetic pulse weapons fired. Massive waves of energy disrupted the bioelectric signals the Vraken used to coordinate. The hive mind fractured. Individual ships began operating independently, losing their tactical advantage. Commander Morrison led a marine assault on the larger Vraken vessels. Boarding pods launched from human ships, punching through organic hulls. Marines in powered armor cut through the interior with plasma weapons and explosives. They did not try to capture or study. They simply destroyed everything they found. The battle lasted 6 hours. When it ended, the Vraken swarm was annihilated. 300 vessels reduced to floating debris. The human fleet had lost 4 ships and taken moderate damage on another dozen. But they had won decisively. Lisa watched the aftermath in stunned silence. She had seen Union battles before. They were calculated, careful, designed to minimize casualties on both sides. This had been different. This had been total war. Admiral Cross noticed her expression. "Are you all right, Captain?" "I knew humans were good at warfare," Lisa said quietly. "But seeing it like this, the scale of it, the efficiency, I understand now why the Union was afraid. Fear is a tool," Admiral Cross said. "The Vraken need to learn to fear us. Every battle needs to teach them that attacking the Union means facing humanity. And facing humanity means death." News of the battle spread quickly through the Union fleet. The impossible had happened. The humans had destroyed a Vraken swarm without losing significant forces. Morale, which had been collapsing for months, suddenly surged. Chancellor Vexara contacted the Freedom. Her skin was bright with excitement and lingering fear. "Admiral Cross, the Council watched your battle. It was effective, brutal, but effective. We authorize full cooperation between human and Union forces." "Good," Admiral Cross said, "because we are just getting started." Over the next 2 weeks, human forces launched aggressive attacks on Vraken positions across multiple systems. They employed tactics the Union had never considered. Scorched planet strategies where they denied the Vraken any organic matter to feed on. Biological weapons designed to poison Vraken tissue. Quantum mines that prevented molecular reconstruction. Most importantly, they fought with a level of aggression that matched the Vraken's own. When the Vraken pushed, humans pushed back harder. When the Vraken tried to overwhelm with numbers, humans used weapons of mass destruction without hesitation. The Union species watched with mixed feelings. They were grateful for the victories but disturbed by the methods. Humans showed no mercy, offered no quarter, and fought with a cold efficiency that was almost mechanical. Lisa found herself caught between 2 worlds. She understood the Union's discomfort.